It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Why does learning a trade, say welding or cosmetology, sometimes cost as much as a year at a university? It just doesn't add up. Well, it turns out the real reason isn't about the training itself. It's all about how we pay for it. And the system is, let's just say, a bit of a mess. So let's dive in. So let's just start with the most basic question, right? Is the price you're paying for career training actually worth it? Because for thousands and thousands of people going into the trades, that answer is getting really murky. Get this. What if I told you some trade schools slap on a huge premium? We're talking as high as 78%, just because they can take federal student aid. Yeah, it's not for better tools or expert instructors. It's literally a fee for getting access to taxpayer money. Wild, right? This feels completely backward, doesn't it? To really get how we ended up here, we've got to do what any good detective does. We have to follow the money. And that brings us right to the core of the issue, a system that's accidentally made getting a career far more expensive than it should be. Okay, this chart really lays it all out. Take cosmetology schools, for example. The average tuition at a school that doesn't get federal aid, about $8,800. Now look at a school that does get that aid. Suddenly, it's almost $16,000 for pretty much the same training. That massive gap, that's the federal aid premium we're talking about. So why on earth is this happening? Well, it all comes down to what researchers call the institutional gatekeeper problem. It's all about how this system is set up right now. Right now, the way the money flows is, well, it's a maze. Taxpayer money goes to the government. The government then sends aid, but not to you. It goes straight to the school. The school takes its cut, applies it to tuition, and you're basically just watching from the sidelines. You never actually see or control the money that's supposedly for your education. And this setup is the perfect breeding ground for something called the Bennett hypothesis. Here's the key idea. When students don't really feel the price of tuition because it's just invisible government money, schools have every reason in the world to jack up prices to grab as much of that subsidy as they can. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The research makes it clear prices aren't going up because it costs more to teach someone a trade. The inflation is a direct result of the broken funding system itself. But it's not just about schools raising tuition. This system creates another huge problem. Just to qualify for federal aid, these small independent trade schools have to spend an absolute fortune on paperwork and compliance. We're talking over $60,000 a year. And guess who ends up paying for all that red tape? Yep, it gets baked right into the tuition bill that's handed to the student. So there's got to be a better way, right? Okay, so let's flip this around and look at a proposed solution. And it's all based on one really simple, powerful idea, putting the student back in the driver's seat. It's called SARD, which is short for Student-Authorized Restricted Disbursement. Sounds complicated, but the idea is super simple. Instead of the cash going to the school, it goes into a secure digital wallet that you, the student, control. And from there, you are the one who has to authorize every single payment. And just look at how much cleaner this is. The government puts the funds in your wallet. You actively approve payments in chunks as you complete parts of your training, and the school gets paid for the education it actually delivers. The student isn't a bystander anymore. You're the one calling the shots. Now, this is about more than just who holds the money. This one little change has a huge psychological impact that leads to way smarter decisions. Think about it. In the old system, the money is kind of like monopoly money, right? It feels abstract, invisible. It's easy to rack up debt when you don't feel the sting. But with this SARD model, you have to physically click approve for every payment. It's a small thing, but that action, feeling the transaction, makes the cost very real. It forces you to stop and think, hey, am I actually getting what I'm paying for here? And the system itself is designed to help you make better choices. It has tools built right in. Before you spend a dime, you have to go through a financial education module. There's a calculator to see what your return on investment will be, your potential salary versus your loan. And this is huge. There's a 7-day cooling off period, so you can't be pressured into a bad decision by a slick salesperson. So what would all this mean for the bigger picture? Well, a model like this could totally change the game, not just for students, but for taxpayers too. Because this new system could be built on secure, modern tech, like a blockchain ledger. Every single transaction, from the government to your wallet to the school, is recorded permanently. It's basically a tamper-proof, unerasable receipt for every single dollar of taxpayer money. And the ripple effects here are just huge, and they're good for everybody. Taxpayers, we finally get to see where the money is going. Those smaller trade schools, they get to ditch that 60 grand a year headache of red tape, which means they can actually lower tuition. And most importantly for students, the goal of the whole system changes. It's not just about enrolling you anymore. It's about making sure you actually get a job at the end of it. And look, this isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea. There's a real, practical plan to roll this out, starting small with pilot programs, then moving towards new laws, and finally, full national adoption. So it really all comes down to this one big question, doesn't it? What if the real key to making education more affordable isn't about finding more money to throw at the problem? What if it's about changing who's in charge of the money we already have? What if the answer isn't more money, but more control, right in the hands of the student?